With a WWE legend called out for PED use and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. With William Regal seemingly departing AEW and set to return to WWE, Wheeler Yuta would note what this means for the future of the Blackpool Combat Club, telling WrestlingNews.co, "I think that there's definitely a regrouping. There's definitely got to be a rebuilding, but I think that it's time for whatever version of what the Blackpool Combat Club is going to be." William Regal gave us plenty of wonderful advice and information, and it seems like he's always teaching us lessons even when he's turning on us. We should not trust some people. I think he gave us all the wisdom that we could have gotten from him, and I think that we've done our best to get it. And now it's up to us to apply it and to use it. Even though we're no longer associated with him, those lessons don't just go away. So now it's time for us to, really turn it up, really find another gear, find another notch, because there was a point where we had a lot of championships, and that is not the case right now. But this pay-per-view is a huge chance for us to turn that around. I think that we'll just continue to grow and use what we've learned, but now find a little more grit, a little bit of an edge, I think. Speaking of factions in AEW, Brody King touched on the House of Black being absent from television, saying on the sessions, "I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to take a break. I felt like I had a lot of momentum at the time. Not just that, but I felt like I was really getting into my groove in AEW and showing who Brody King, the professional wrestler, was. I got to wrestle Darby Allin twice. I got to wrestle Jon Moxley twice. I feel those 3 matches really put me on the map where people were like, he's just Malachi Black's sidekick, to, oh, he's a threat. Those are the moments I was waiting for. It was never me questioning if I could do it. It was when I could do it. I feel it all came at the right time, and I was worried about taking the momentum away. We made this return, and it was awesome, and the whole crowd was standing on their feet, and it was almost like we didn't miss a step. I feel that rare in wrestling because fans are so, I don't want to say fickle, but they forget about you quickly. For them to give us that reception was awesome. As AEW have debuted many stars in recent memory, president of the company Tony Khan spoke on the Battleground podcast about Shane Taylor's recent appearance on Rampage, noting that there are fans who have never seen Shane Taylor before, and that's okay. You get introduced to new faces all the time. When I was a young wrestling fan, that was one of the things I liked about WCW Nitro. I think it would be very ironic now that the same promoter, Eric Bischoff, would tell you don't want to see these faces or introduce new people on TV because they were the ones who did that. A lot of times, these new faces read in a magazine I'd never seen before, and they would just walk out and wrestle on Nitro like it was perfectly natural, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I guess that's not acceptable anymore, even though it's much easier to access information on the internet than it was in 1996. You saw wrestlers coming in from all promotions in the 90s on Nitro. Wrestlers coming to TBS or TNT is nothing new. People complaining about it ad nauseum on the internet is certainly new. At the end of the day, you want to listen to what the fans are saying. Overall, there has been a positive reception to a lot of international wrestlers coming to AEW. Addressing the contract she signed with AEW, Renee Paquette told the Sports Media Podcast that, "I've got a multiple-year deal. I have a 3-year deal with AEW, 3 years as talent and 3-year producer contract. I have 2 different contracts. I would love for that role to evolve. The thing with AEW is it is a wrestling company. It is a matches-heavy show. It's not necessarily about the broadcast in the way that WWE was. It's about great matches and showcasing talent in a different way. I love doing interviews interviews and backstage interviews, especially working with younger talent that maybe has not been in that kind of situation before. There's so many people that I'm dying to do proper sit-down interviews with. I want to spend time with somebody and really unpeel those layers and figure out who some of these characters to push stories forward and give context to fans as to some of these wrestlers are. Even though some of these wrestlers are world-renowned stars, if you're a casual fan, you might not know who they are. I would love to provide more context in who they are. To do that on the television side is something I would love to do, as well as finding other ways to expand my role throughout the show. I have a couple ideas of things I want to do, and I'm hoping to have those conversations and maybe execute those things in the new year. I do think I bring a lot more value than just doing, I could do backstage interviews in my sleep. That's somewhere I would love to put on more of my producer hat and help get someone else brushed up to doing backstage interviews in their fullest capacity, whether on the wrestling or broadcasting side. To look at it from a different perspective is something I enjoy. With her having been out of action due to injury, former AEW Women's Champion Thunder Rosa took to Instagram to show off the fact that she's recording her first single. Here's the video.
Hola chicos, hi everyone, I am here. I told you guys that I was doing something special. I am, as you can see, about to record my first single that you guys will be probably listening to it at the beginning of the year. It's called Mi Mejor Escuela, de mi reina favorita que está ahí sentada en show reina. That's the my singing teacher and a writer and a singer. So I'm gonna be here for a couple hours until it's perfect because she's a perfectionist. Eres una perfeccionista, ¿verdad? Nomás contigo. So we're gonna be here for a while, and yeah, so you should definitely subscribe to Patreon because this is where you guys can see the release of the song. The making of the song, and then the release of the song is gonna be there first, and then we're gonna go into all our social medias. But if not, again, what day is it today? Is it Tuesday?
It's Monday.
It's
Monday.
I don't even know what day I'm living. But yeah, so this is what I've been doing on top of rehab. Is like I've been, digging into other things that I like.
They want them to hear and I'll bust it open.
Oh, okay. When? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
We have to have Dave learn Spanish.
No,
so he can sing along.
I will sing their La Grecaline. How about that? Just because.
Remind you, tomorrow we're going to have a live at
Tomorrow we're going to have a live at Taco Blog, the anniversary Taco Blog at 3 p.m. I'm going to be eating tacos with Tony. And if you have any questions, just make sure you tune in. And it's going to be on YouTube. There you can donate. The money that will be donated, half of it will be donated to a nonprofit organization of our like. Probably I want to help some little dogs, or the women's shelter in San Antonio, Texas. Or if you have anyone in your community that needs help, we will love to help them too. So don't forget, I need to get going because they're waiting for me. So thank you for all support. Bye guys.
Speaking about his match against Chris Jericho for the ROH title on Dynamite, Colt Cabana revealed to the Work of Wrestling podcast, "I never talked to Tony Khan until I was in gorilla position, so it wasn't a call from Tony. The Travel called me up and said, 'You're needed for Baltimore, Maryland.' I assumed it was to wrestle Chris Jericho. I think the Travel told me, 'Chris Jericho is requesting your presence in Baltimore.' So I wrestled Chris. I'm under contract. They tell me to show up, I showed up. They tell me who I'm wrestling, I wrestle. If they want me to wrestle again, I'll wrestle again. If they want me to agent again, I'll agent again. Whatever." Reviewing the match between Dax Harwood and Bryan Danielson, Jim Cornette criticized AEW for holding FTR back. Once in a blue moon, they have a tag team match, but most of the time in AEW, it's 6-man or an 8-man or pre-taped interview. They have all their great tag team matches in other companies somewhere else in the world. They have every other promotion's tag team title that means something in those companies, but are completely meaningless in AEW for some reason. And the apologists are still acting like this is not intentional, that anybody could be so stupid, and people are still trying to say they're not being held down on purpose. With Drew McIntyre pulled from his match this week on SmackDown, Dave Meltzer provided more details regarding the situation, saying on Wrestling Observer Radio, he is injured. I was told an injury, but it's not from a first-hand source. But he's supposed to be back for the Christmas show, so it's only a couple of weeks, I know that. The only thing I know is that he wanted to wrestle and they would not let him wrestle. But it's not like it's going to be a long-term thing, at least as it stands right now. During an interview with Sportskeeda, Kurt Angle spoke about the US champion Austin Theory calling out WWE for their use of the star, saying, I know that they're not utilizing him as much as they were when Vince was there. I'm impressed by this kid, and I understand why Vince McMahon loved him so much. He's the whole thing. He has everything. He can talk, he's got a great look, he can wrestle. This kid was groomed by Vince McMahon when he started, and rightfully so. That's what Vince did with me as well, and I think this kid has a huge future. He's going to be a dominating wrestler in the future. Talking about the prospect of returning to in-ring action for the Royal Rumble next year, Booker T noted on his Hall of Fame podcast that, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll be checking the mail every day all the way up until that date, because if I get the invitation, I'm definitely going to, execute it, definitely going to be, be there. I'm going to be in the middle of that ring. I'm going to be prepared to be in the middle of that ring if that happens. But now, nobody's talked to me or anything like that about being in the Rumble. There again, I don't have any itch to scratch or anything like that, but hey man, I'm always down. When talking on his podcast about those that look like they are on performance-enhancing drugs, Joe Rogan brought up The Rock as he said, The Rock should come clean right now. He should make a video in response to the Liver King video. I need to talk to you because The Rock's been lying. There's not a chance in hell he's clean. Not a chance in hell. As big as The Rock is at 50, he's so massive, and he's so different than he was when he was 30. There's a responsibility you have to people who are listening to you. If you don't want to talk about it, that's one thing. But if you do talk about it, there's a responsibility you have to people listening to you, and I think you have to be honest about it, which is why I'm honest about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking hormone replacement. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.